Hey everybody, how's it going? Gonna try and go through these really quick because I've got to leave soon. We busted through pretty large levels today, but 446.6 to 446.44 was one of the callouts that we had today. It was 446.7 to 446.4. That's what was called out to the team, and you can see when we get down here that there's these wicks, this presence of buyers here, potentially aggressive buyers here. I'd say that this was probably still a risky move given the kill candle that we have, but once you see something like this, you're usually going to see some sort of correction on it, which is exactly what we have. We have a really big imbalance candle. We have a bit of a correction to try and meet and close that gap, kind of like a fair value gap, but not quite in this particular case. And so that makes sense, and it's at a key level, so I think that it's worth taking, but just be wary that that could be a scalp. You've got good volume confirmation. What I would say is that ultimately I like to try and take these fibs from high a day to low a day whenever we see big impulsive moves like that. It doesn't quite make it up to them. You can use the 38.2. I don't love using the 38.2, but you do have the EMAs right here, and you have low a day right here. I just would have preferred to see it come up to VWAP or to that 50% personally, so I didn't end up getting in on that. And then you've got 443 where it comes down to and bounces from there. And if you look on lower time frames, you can see pretty good confirmation of that happening as well. You get this increasing volume. You got your presence of buyers. Would have liked to see a little bit more basing here. Personally, this is risky as far as entries go. But I think that this particular structure where you've got a lot of volume coming in and your volume is staying high, but your candles are getting smaller and starting to look bullish. I think that could certainly give me confidence. I might see myself entering on something like this, but it's a little bit more risk than I like to take. I like to be closer to the level if possible. And then we can go to Meta. Meta, we were looking for 300 to 302. I had 301 to 302 on my chart. We pretty much fail 301 to 302 immediately. And once we break down, you can use the pre-market high or even the current high a day to try and find out where we might retrace to before we fall down. We've got a nice impulsive move to the downside here, so let's see how that played out. Unfortunately, I took losses on these. I tried to take an early entry here with my stop set above this 50% fib, but I really didn't respect this zone the way that a zone works. And we did see movement down. We corrected here on really low volume, which was definitely a sign. I think in hindsight, I would have preferred to probably take entries at the fib cluster here or at the top of the zone at the very least. Obviously, it's really easy for me to say that in hindsight, but it's a bit of a correction for a losing trade that I had today. So when we come up here, you can kind of see that our volume's low. It is increasing, but the candles are not increasing with it. The candles are getting smaller, and that's something to note. You have a little bit of volume fall off here, and then when we get up to this level, it finally breaks through the zone again and reclaims it on okay volume. And then when we break down below VWAP, I think that I would like my entry here. It's a lot more risk than I like to usually take, but I think that the risk to reward makes sense. Once we pass VWAP, there's a lot of more room to low of day than there is to top of zone, and the potential upside if we break low a day is pretty big. So I like that personally. You can probably, I don't know if this fib works. Take high a day to low a day. Yeah, so taking high day to low a day, it doesn't quite work out for pre-market high to low a day, and I guess that makes sense. But I don't know how it looks on higher time frames. Yeah, on higher time frames, it still looks better from high day to low a day. I think it would just have to be your preference on how you draw those, but it does look good to me. Tesla broke straight through, and Microsoft broke straight through, so there's nothing to talk about on Tesla. Let's talk QQQ. QQQ, the levels that I gave out to the team today were looking for this 378 reject or a 373.5 bounce, a 371.7 bounce, and you can see here that I've got a little bit of a zone to 373.8, and that's exactly where we get this initial bounce. We have some nice basing here. It doesn't just jump up right away, which I really like. I don't love it on a 5-minute time frame, to be honest, but you do have a nice little basing candle. Might be worth a shot. I would have preferred to see it hit here. This is probably not something that I would go for given the amount of movement down that we're seeing, but it does work out and it's decent. I don't think that it's A plus personally. I like it better when it starts to come back above and base around this area and we start to see, you know, some better movement to the upside. And then AMD was the stock to trade today. Very unfortunate that it didn't really give us what we wanted. We did have a nice move. The call out was looking at this 109.6 or potentially the hourly 21 EMA and then 108.4 later on. And we get bounces at both areas. We get a nice bounce here, but I just don't think that this is something that, again, looks very A plus to me. You've got a lot of volume coming into it. It does absorb it really well on the lower time frame, but higher time frames are giving you a lot of bearish signals, so I just don't love that. You could take high a day to low a day and see nice retracement to that side to see if we do get a lower high, where might that be? And this personally looks a lot better. It's with the current intraday trend, and it's right at three key levels, really. You've got it closing below your EMAs, you've got it closing below VWAP, and you've got it whacking a 50% fib, so that's enough for me. And volume gives you good confirmation of it. If you take high a day to low a day here, which is where we were taking our entries, I think we were taking our trades here, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember when we took ours, but it was around here, I think, when it broke back below the level. We even had it break down here. Volume looked good. It looked like it was supporting it. I mean, you can see on the higher time frames that you've got a lot of volume coming here. This volume is very similar. It's not much lower, but you can see clear bearish signals. You can see clear bearish signals. You can see clear bearish signals. And then it's hitting the 50% fib. You do get a high volume reversal bar here. It is kind of odd that it reclaims it like this. It's kind of, I guess, just buyers gassing themselves out in this sense, though, because ultimately it breaks down from there. It does eventually give you another chance at entry here and finally takes you down to our bounce level. When you get down to our bounce level, here you can see a lot of buyers stepping in on really good volume. You can see some basing, some more high volume basing right here. I really like this hammer candle. I would certainly be tempted to enter close to the level once it starts to break above here. Obviously, you'd have to sit through this, potentially breaking below. It does not actually close below. I could certainly see myself getting faked out by that, especially with such good volume to the downside here. So if you want a safer entry, I think that it's once we start to see these basing 5-minute candles, taking your entry here. You could wait until we break back above here, but then you're really close to your EMA, so I'd rather try and take it here as close as I can to where my potential invalidation point is. This moves really nicely. I mean, AMD moves really nice on these contracts. You get a nice, really nice high or low right here. We break above the previous lower high. We base right here on the EMAs. We have nice EMA crossover right after potential entries. So personally, I like that. If you were able to get in here, then this gives you a really nice invalidation point for anything coming back at you. If you're able to trim here at your 21 EMA, then you see this lower high here. You see us maintain these EMAs. Then you can set this as your new stop loss area, having you stop out in profit if it does decide to turn around, and so on and so forth. Hope you guys had a good day. Hope that y'all made bag. That's it for me today. Keeping it under 10 minutes. Love that. See y'all tomorrow.